Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another SLG Meetup. Your host, Alvaro Núñez, to bring you another successful and interesting guest. In this case, it's going to be in real estate. Her name is Carrie McCormick, and she is a successful real estate agent in Chicago. In fact, she has been ranked #1 individual broker. She's at Christie's with over $2.1 billion sold, and she's going to bring us the fire, the game on how she has been able to stay at that level for so many years and evolving over time. There she is. What's happening, Carrie? How you doing?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you doing?
I'm excellent.
Well, you look phenomenal, and I'm sure that is because you're closing deals. You know, when you close deals, I can feel the energy.
Yeah, we've got one closing right now, so I might be looking at this direction at my screen just to make sure everything's going good.
I love that. Well, look, congratulations, #1 individual broker in Chicago. I love Chicago. It's beautiful. And to be at the top of the game for so long. Now, how do you do it? How do you stay at that top level for so long and consistently? What are some things that you've been doing over time?
You know, it's just it's the basics. It's a lot of grit, right? It's a lot of, keeping your head down and moving forward and never taking the gas off the pedal, honestly. We talked about this the other day where Chicago, we've got kind of seasonal moments here. We're in December, so it's holiday season, so a lot of people will take the gas off the pedal now because they're like, it's the holidays and no one's buying or no one's selling. This is the time that I like to double down on things. I kind of like the opposite of what others do. So it's really just, staying focused on what your goals are. And really, I always say, be your own brand ambassador too, right? Figure out what makes you different and what makes, a buyer or seller want to choose you and create your own niche.
I love that. And it's so true because consistency compounds. And if you're consistent at what you're doing, hey, more things are going to be coming your way. And I love that because a lot of people break that consistency, break that compound effect because, hey, the holidays are coming in or I want to take that vacation. So it's not easy to stay consistent for so long, but congratulations because you're an example of someone that has done it very well. Now, with Chicago, I mean, it has its own luxury real estate identity. How would you describe that lifestyle that represents Chicago?
Yeah, so we do have some phenomenal properties here. We've got the views here, I think, are what sells Chicago, right? A beautiful city for those who have seen Chicago or been here in Chicago. We've got the lakefront. Our skyline is incredible. So what makes a luxury property, stand out really is our views, our location, and our finishes. We've got some incredible designers here, architecture here. So compound all of that together, we've got some of the most luxurious homes.
I love that, and I gotta see on your Instagram every time all these beautiful homes, and I'm like, man, I really want to go to Chicago to check it out. And I think that's one of the powerful things about social media, that you're showcasing not just the properties, but also the lifestyle that it comes with it, which is very engaging and very exciting. So now for you that have been on the game for so long and have been marketing and selling such high-end properties, is there one in particular that you were like, man, this property was such an incredible experience and that was like a jaw-dropping thing?
It really, one of them does stand out. It's under contract right now. And, as brokers, we get to see, the best of the best. We get to see all different types of properties. But what really made this one truly special was the inception of the design of it. And I really, give a lot of accolades to architects, to lighting designers, to interior designers, everyone that's involved in making a home a home. And really, when you collaborate and you design something so special, when a buyer walks in, you can feel it. You can feel everything about it. And I do have the video on my Instagram. It's 4 East Elm, and it's the penthouse there. It's just one of the most exquisite properties I've ever walked through. It's incredible.
So tell me about this storyline, because there is something that is said about the property, but also the story that comes with the property, right? Like it's about storytelling. And I've seen that you've done that very well in a lot of your listings and some of the properties that you showcase. So how do you integrate the storytelling into a property? Because that's something that a lot of people in the space are lacking.
Yeah, no, I think it's really key to selling a property because I always say every home does have its
Yeah.
story. And for me, the storyline starts when I sit down and talk with the seller, right? Because I want to hear from them. They've lived in the property, whether they built it, curated it, just moved in, what is their story? So it's interesting when you sit down and talk to a seller and just hear it from their point of view. And then I incorporate, my vision of the property and how I feel about it. And all of my videos and marketing, I am the marketing department, so I put the storyline together from my point of view. And like I mentioned earlier, I think being your own brand ambassador is super important because if I just took someone else's marketing and copied it
Mm-hmm.
word for word, line by line, it's not going to set me apart, So I think as, any brokers out there is really curate it from your point of view and how you see it. And that's how the story gets told.
I love that. And we go back to what you were saying at the beginning, right? Is that consistency. And sometimes at first, you don't know where to get started or you don't know what to put out there. But the more that you start doing, the more that you'll identify your brand identity. And it comes down to the core that you were talking about, right? Like authenticity, being yourself. And that's what will differentiate you from everyone else. And I love one thing that you mentioned, which is so critical. Sometimes we just want to talk to the sellers. And hey, ask the questions. Get as much information as possible because those are the components that you can incorporate into your marketing campaign, whether it's through the storytelling or any other campaign that you will do. So I love that. Very good points. I just wanted to ask you because last time I was in Chicago, it was for the Cubs game. I went in there and I had a blast. I enjoyed it. And then I came back a couple of years later. It transformed already to real estate. So I see that it's evolving very rapidly. Same thing here in Miami, right? So what are some of the trends that you're seeing right now in real estate in Chicago?
Well, when were you here in Chicago?
I was like before COVID,
Yeah.
and then right after COVID, I had like a quick trip, but it was like a day and night.
Yeah. So, Chicago is a world-class city. This is where I've grown up, and we've gotten a little bit of a bad rap around the United States of, our crime or our politics. But
Yeah.
again, this is my home. I absolutely love the city here. I think every city has its challenges, but really we're a resilient city from, restaurants to the theater to shopping. Again, we've got our four seasons. People complain about our weather here, but I will tell you, it's December. If I could turn my camera around, it's sunny. It's not too bad. But having a nice coat and warm winter boots and sitting by a fire is not a bad thing either.
Yeah.
Um, so I think our city, we've just, from a real estate front, I think we're such an affordable city though too, right? So I think
Okay.
when people come here, we've got, the corporations here, we've got, the work live balance here is just easy. And I will tell you, being here in Chicago and being from Chicago, people are nice here. It's a good city to live in.
Right. No, that I love that. And the people, I gotta say, it is true. It is something that I've noticed. They're very nice people.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the reputation, it is something that once you go there and experience it firsthand, you
Hmm.
realize that it's way different than what you see sometimes on the news. I actually got this feeling. I'm from Madrid, Spain, and I got this feeling of Chicago being like a mix between Madrid and New York. I don't know why. I had that mix, and I loved it. But tell me something, because you've been in Chicago all your life. I mean, you know all the hidden spots. So, is there any specific upcoming neighborhood that people should look into when it comes to investing in real estate, or any hidden spot that you recommend?
Well, we have our core neighborhoods here, and I kind of think about it as New York as well. But when I say that to people who live in New York, they get so offended. They say Chicago is not New York, which 100% agree for anyone from New York. We're just a mini version of New York. So
Yeah.
we do have core neighborhoods that historically have done well from, a price standpoint.
Uh-huh.
But developers, as we try to continue to grow our city, they're looking outside into outside neighborhoods. It just keeps expanding. So, for example, we have an area called Bucktown, which is kind of like, I call it the Soho of New York.
Hmm.
And we're moving a little bit further west. So we've got like Westtown, Ukrainian Village, Logan Square. You may have heard of Logan Square because that's all of a sudden now on the map. So, you just look at these core neighborhoods and go just a tiny bit out of them, And that's where I think people should start investing, because again, as developers focus on these core neighborhoods, and if there's no land available, or the land gets too pricey, just go 2 streets out, because it'll
Got
eventually.
it. Mm, I love that. Well, look, I have a question for you. You've been, as we mentioned earlier on top of the game for many years, and there must be some sort of routines and habits that you've incorporated over the years that have helped you keep that momentum. So is there anything specific that you do every morning that keeps you focused and being at the top of the game?
I wish I could say that I am a routine gal, but I'm really not.
Oh, okay, good.
Which is surprising that I'm not. But I mean, every day I like to, and again, it's not any time of the day. Contact, I'm always in contact with people, because if I go a day without talking to a past client or current client, a prospect, I failed my job. So, this is a people business. So I make point every day, even if I'm in a Starbucks line, I talk to people. It annoys the people that I'm with. Like, I've got 2 kids and a husband, and, they kind of get annoyed when I start talking to people. But it's every day I make a point to make a contact with someone, no matter where I am.
I find that so important. So thank you for sharing, because a lot of the agents or brokers that are trying to make it, they're thinking, oh, what's the key formula, right? Everybody's asking the same question. But the follow-up game, like, that's just straightforward. One of the most important things that people sometimes overthink is like, oh, I'll just post things on social media. But having your database and grow it over time and following up with all these people, it's just something that, as you mentioned, we're in the people's business. It's critical. So if you had to give a recommendation for somebody that really wants to make it at the top level, will that be that particular recommendation or something else?
Well, I think your network is super important, right? And nurturing that network. But this is going to sound cliche, but really, I think being kind to people is super important, in this business, because I think people can sense, if you're being authentic, because we're salespeople, right? And I think
Yeah.
people don't want to talk to a salesperson, or they don't want to be sold to.
Yeah.
So remember that we are a fiduciary to clients, and that we are an advisor of real estate. So we have to approach every person in every transaction with that. And, like I said, with kindness. So really knowing your market, knowing people and what they're looking for, and knowing what's important to them. And again, treating them with kindness is so important. And, my business through the years has really skyrocketed. And I look back to, and people ask me, like, what was the turning point in that? And it was really, it was very simple. It was doing what was right for the client. I really never focused on the money part of it, which I know is super important, but I never really started saying, I'm going to get this transaction done because I want a $10,000 commission. It was, I want the transaction to go through because this is the perfect home for this client and they're going to be happy. So when you look at and change your mindset a little bit, of not being greedy or egotistical, it's really about servicing your clients.
Mm-hmm.
The shift changes and people notice it too.
I love that. That's very refreshing, right? Because it's an industry where a lot of people just focus on the money, money, money,
Yeah.
money. When it comes to shifting that mindset to what's best for my clients and doing that over time, then you build a great network, and then that referral network even expands your business more and more because you're doing a great job. No, I love that. That's very good. So tell me, what's next for you? What are some of the upcoming projects? I saw you were posting something here in close to Miami, here in South Florida. So what's going on? What are you doing next?
So, again, when you look at your business and expanding, you've got to pivot. This is a business of pivoting, right? And the world continues to change and our clients' needs, change. So obviously through the pandemic, a lot of people moved from Chicago to Florida, so,
there you go.
Again, part of my job is to be able to service the clients. So I do have a lot of clients here that are developers, builders that moved down to or are building down in Miami. So it's collaborating with them and offering full service to my clients to say, I've got world-class connections down in Florida, Arizona, Tennessee, New York, London, wherever it is that you want to move, I've got the connections down there. And part of my business, just to revert back to, is just, we talked about being in a people business. That's why I went down to Florida, and I fly all over the United States to meet my partners, because I want to show them that my commitment isn't just, picking up the phone or sending them a postcard. I will get on a plane and come down and meet you face to face, so we can form a relationship, so we know if we work together who you're working with and that you can trust and know I'll get the job done.
I love that. No, well done. Well done to you. And that's one of the reasons that we're also doing this interview, right? And having this conversation is because I often come across people that are coming from Chicago here in Miami, and they have great real estate in Chicago. In
Mhm.
fact, I have friends there that have invited me in the past, and I never really come across or build a relationship with someone in the real estate space there. And doing the research, came across your profile, and I'm like, I'm going to reach out to Carrie. I want to build a relationship
Yeah,
first. I want to see that we have similar values, and that whenever I recommend you any sort of business or refer you any business, I know that that person is going to be taken care of.
right.
So I love the integrity. I love the values that you carry. I love the success story behind your brand. And I think that nowadays with social media is an expedited way to connect with someone,
Hmm.
which then if you can follow up by going in person and really solidify that relationship, then it makes it even more powerful. So, hey, I think that whenever you come down here, I'll get to show you a little bit more of Miami, and I'll do the same whenever I go to Chicago. Although I'm not a big fan of cold weather, so maybe I'll wait a few
Be a
months
good
to go see you.
jacket.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Well, look, last question that I ask every guest is, what is luxury to you?
Good question. And I think there's a canned answer for that, but I'm going to tell you what I really think luxury is. And I think luxury is all in the details. It's about convenience, and it's about living well and good service. I know that was kind of all over the board, but when I talk to my clients about luxury and what's important to them, it does boil down to their wellness, their convenience for them, um, and they want service. So I know that those are all kind of three disconnected things, but that is when someone has all three of those, they feel like they get it's luxury to them. So I don't think luxury is about a price point. I don't think it's about a certain style or a certain finish or location. It's really about the service that they get and how they live.
I love that. Well, Carrie, thank you very much. For anybody that is looking to buy or sell or has questions about real estate in Chicago, what's the best way that they can
I would
contact you?
say call. You'll find that I work 24/7. I'm always picking up my phone. So my phone number 312-961-4612, or send me an email.
There you go. You're always available, and that's what makes you approachable and trusted. So thank you, Carrie, again for your time. I really appreciate you, and keep on crushing it. I'm very proud of you and very impressed with your career. So congrats, and we'll speak soon.